Welcome to another episode of the Work and Play Podcast. I'm your host and career transformation coach, Ariel Young, and I have a really, really dope guest on the podcast today. Many people may have trouble digesting what it is that you say, but ultimately, you cannot deny the truth when you hear it. Now, if you do deny the truth when you hear it, then that's more development, right, to do. But I want to introduce this guy because he's a really dope friend of mine, as well as, a personality on social media. And many of you guys may or may not know him. But without further ado, Mr. Aaron, would you please introduce yourself?
All right, what's up, y'all? I am Mr. LetGo, or Aaron Mallory, and I am an emotional attachment coach, and I coach women. And a lot of people may say, what? How can you tell a woman how to be a woman? But I don't help women be women. I help women understand why they do what they do, because whether you're a man or a woman, we all deal with childhood trauma and attachment styles, but women in particular are special when it comes to childhood trauma, because usually, in most cases, most of us were raised by one person, and it wasn't our dad, it was our mom. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to males being raised by their mom, there's a certain amount of childhood trauma. But it's totally different than when a daughter is raised with childhood trauma. And the reason why is because in a lot of cases, she wanted a boy. And she didn't want you. So she's tolerating you because she was hoping for a boy. Some women actually name their kids, their daughters, a male name because they wanted a boy so bad. Some women have more kids to get a boy and have another daughter, and now they hate both of their daughters.
This conversation took a turn to the left before I even expected. Like, how do we end up here? Let me tell you how I became familiar and then close to Mr. Aaron Mallory. Like many women, I think I knew about your persona before I knew who you were as a man. And many of your posts are just as visceral, right, of truth, right? And some people may not agree with it as truth, and that's the part where we have to always meet and have a conversation. But your posts are all consistent with the same level of conviction. And I felt in myself dang, there's this feeling inside of me that I'm irritated, I'm mad, and I had to ask myself why am I mad? That for me was a catalyst for me to explore my own growth and development. And I feel like as entrepreneurs, we go through that process of evolving and intentionally growing every single day. So honestly and truly, before I knew you, you started a certain level of growth in me that I just needed as a woman without even really looking for it. I was kind of triggered in a way that led me to a place of growth. On the Work and Play podcast, we talk about how do you actually leave your 9-to-5 and go into entrepreneurship, but in those different phases, you become a different person. You transform.
Yes.
So where did you get the inspiration to start your journey in entrepreneurship as a coach for women?
Well, it started with the amazing relationship that I had with my mom. A lot of people are you must hate your mama.
Right, you put that amazing on it. But is that because she wanted, based on what you just said, and I want you to get back to your story, but is it because she wanted a boy all this time and she got one?
Most likely, yes. And that is the reason why childhood trauma is so different for women than males. It's a possibility that if I was a female and not a male, that she wouldn't have treated me as beautifully as she did.
That is so interesting. So then you became a coach for women. Sorry, I interrupted. So how did you get into that space?
Well, like I said, with my mom, she was getting abused by different guys from the age of 7 to the age of 13, 14. And by the time I turned 13, 14, I was like, all right, enough of this. I started beating up her boyfriends, me and my homeboys. Right. It wasn't just me. Me and my homeboys. We just, started getting bad. And we started beating up her boyfriends. And I literally sat down with my mom and I told her, all right, this is what we're going to do from now on. This is my house. you're not gonna have no company unless I okay the person. So you pick better men, you can have company. If not, the same thing gonna happen to him that happened to you last 2 boyfriends. She didn't know about the 3rd one.
Okay.
Because one was an ex-boyfriend that did some bad things to her when I was 6. And he was still around.
Later on.
Later on, by the time I was 13, and I caught him and took care of him or whatever. So she didn't know about that, but she know I beat up 2 of her boyfriends. So she sat down for a second and thought about it. And, you know, we got past like, who you think you are? I'm your mom. And yeah. But at the end of the day, you are not running this household correctly. And I'm not saying it as a kid like this, but I had to take over the household before she got us killed, in all honesty. And
it's a tough way to look at it, but when you look at the extreme, I understand.
Yeah. So to a certain degree, that's the reason why I am always like, I love helping women, because women don't know. They need a man or somebody to go to them and say, all right, you need to sit your ass down somewhere because you screwing up your own life. You know what I'm saying? And to be able to admit that I'm screwing up my own life and let somebody else come in and help me with it is sadly hurtful to women, because they think because they were raised by women, whole family, black families are usually full of women, and they always empower the woman, and women are smarter than men, and women are, no. That's actually the opposite. Women have a lot of emotional problems that get in the way of their level of intelligence. So they may be intelligent, but they're not emotionally intelligent.
That's where it comes. That's when we come into where it comes into play, because what you're saying is absolutely true. We live in a society where women, I'm a black woman, we are encouraged to be strong, and then we get upset when we are called strong black women. But it takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable enough to say, I need help. And I've been in your coaching program. So when I say I've got a chance to visit and see the conversations that you guys have, and to see the vulnerability that women have to just express the fact that I'm having an issue with my male son, my son, or I'm having a fallout with my husband. They're vulnerable enough to say, I need help.
Yes.
In a world where we are encouraged to be strong, we want to resent the fact that we're strong, but it's hard for us to be vulnerable. So for you, when did you realize you were going to be the person to help someone?
When my mom actually sat down and listened and was like, okay, and I'm 13 years old.
So at that point you realize, okay, women listen to me.
I'm still a child, right? And this grown 40-some-year-old woman is listening to her son because what I'm saying just makes sense. So it wasn't about that. It was the fact that I knew that I can articulate myself to a woman or women to get them to get out of their own way, because I did it with my mom. I wasn't loud or it wasn't an argument. I just literally said, we're on Section 8. We only pay $35 a month for rent. There's a reason why you want to play $35 a month. It's because you are on Section 8, which means because of me, you don't have to work. So that means if I left, you would actually have to go get a job and pay all these bills. And you don't even have no work experience because you ain't never worked in my entire life. So I don't even know if you know how to work a job because you've never worked my whole life, right? And of course, I didn't say that specifically, but you ain't got no job. We on Section 8. And the reason why we on Section 8 is because of me. So that means if I was not in the household, you would actually have to go get a job. And on top of that, the men you keep choosing are knocking you over the head, and I'm tired of seeing it. And you, as my mom, raised me to be a protector. So can you please allow me to protect you and sit down somewhere? And she was like, okay.
That's the part about your journey that I want to get into. As much as I know about you, we've had several conversations. The part about women accepting help is one thing. But I think there's a lot of people right now who appeal to women as opposed to being tough or sharing tough advice. The reason I say that, as a coach personally, I learned that I get better results. My clients get better results when I'm speaking from like even the condescending part of me.
Okay.
Where I'm like, you want to make $10,000, but you have a $40 product. It's going to take you hundreds of like sales in order to get that $10,000. Let's consider raising your prices instead of being like, well, you might, how are we going to actually get the 10,000? I'm listening to your sternness, right? And we talked about it when you came into the industry. You want to be a motivational coach.
And I was like, motivation is stupid.
Let's see. Talk about how you evolved from the motivational coach you were to the person right now who could tell. I know you said this to your mom.
My coaches used to laugh at me.
What was your approach?
Because I was trained to be a motivational speaker. Everybody around us was motivational speakers. So you go up like, all right, what y'all need to do, you need to do better, you need to do, right? So I get up and be like, whoa, I don't want to do this, man.
It wasn't coming up.
This is stupid. Yeah. Because it's not who I am. So I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to show you what nobody else is bold enough to show you. Like the nasty part of your life, that is the actual problem. Like what's under the rug. You can sweep everything under the rug all you want to, but after years of sweeping everything under the rug, there's all kinds of stuff up under there. And I am here to say, hey, let's look under the rug together. Yeah. I'm going to support you. I ain't got time to be motivating nobody. I don't care what you do with the rug. I'm just letting you know there's something under the rug, and you are not going to get what you want in life or be able to keep it if you don't deal with what's under the rug. Let somebody else motivate you. I don't care about all this stuff. I'm just here to let you know. I don't care what, because the thing about it is, somebody can motivate you all you want to, but if your childhood trauma, the things that you keep throwing up under the rug, what's the point of the motivation? You just gonna be like, yeah, and then go back home and be like, who am I fooling?
Yes. I
want to deal with the who am I fooling part.
What type of results have you been able to see over the years once you learn to stand in that boldness?
Like specific things, I've gotten 4 women married. I'm happy about that.
You've gotten them married. That's dope.
Yeah, like I actually talked to one woman, and shout out to Tamara. She invited me to her house like 3 months ago because she had a birthday party. So shout out to Tamara. She's been in my coaching group for years, actually. And when she first came to me, she was dealing with a divorce, right? And I helped her through the divorce, and I kept letting her like, yo, it doesn't matter. Let that go. Stop worrying about this. Why you care? Why do you care? Why do you care? Why do you care? And she was like, what do you mean why don't I care? And she got it. And she stopped caring about who did what, who said what. And because she was in a different emotional space, she was able to attract a new potential husband and maintain a relationship without, falling off the tracks or whatever. And I sat down with him, and he was like, brother, like, I appreciate you like immensely because she told me that she had a male coach. And I was like, a male coach? But then she was like, well, yeah, but the reason why I'm the way I am now is because of him. And he was like, wow, okay. They invited me to their home and hang out. That's
dope. I can say that I can imagine the impact that you've had for people who are willing to hear it and even like be bold enough and courageous enough to see if there is some room to grow. Because maybe you don't feel like, oh, I need Mr. Let Go. I need someone to talk to me like that way. But to be brave enough to put yourself through that process and then get to the other side, that's the dope part.
Well, the thing about it is, I'm not here to talk to you in a certain kind of way. I'm just here to let you see. People think I'm talking in a certain kind of way. I'm talking about things that nobody wants to talk about. So if you take away me talking to a certain person a certain way, that's not really the thing. The thing is, I'm talking about something that nobody else or you wants to talk about.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about the bad, nasty things that is going on in your childhood that you thought you forgot. Mm-hmm. And here Mr. Let Go is saying, this happened, and I'm just speaking to an avatar, and you're like, what is wrong with this guy? He's this, he's that. No, you're this, and you're that. You know?
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be that this or that. They always want to say, he's this, she's that, he did this to me, she did this to me. No, you are doing this to yourself because you are refusing, because it's something I talk about. Women hide their trauma either in the attic and in the basement. And just like in a house, you barely ever go in the basement because it's dirty, it's nasty, it's little cobwebs and stuff, right? And in the attic, you don't go up there either. You know, so you just live your life with these two issues above you and below you, and you just deal with them, and this is just your life. But just like in the horror movies, you start hearing noises. You're like, what is that? What is that? Right? Yeah. There's always something in the attic, you know, or something in the basement. And you're like, what is that? And in real life, because in movies, they always get up in their nightgown, like, open the door with a flashlight oh, what's wrong with my flashlight? The flashlight goes off the second, and then a monster comes, right? Mm-hmm. But in real life, we don't go. We just sit here and say, I don't know what that noise is, but I'm just going to ignore it.
Instead of dealing with it.
Instead of dealing with it. So in the horror movies, the people actually deal with it, right? But in real life, we just live and act like it's not a horror movie.
What's that noise up there?
Oh, well, I don't know what the noise is, but I'm just going to ignore it. Mm-hmm. There's a whole monster up there.
Yeah. I like this news. I like this Aaron better than like whatever. You got to be great. You got to be, because there's enough of those out here. And,
right.
And for you to be the one to say, do you hear it upstairs knocking?
Yeah.
That's a different voice.
And I'll hold your hand and say, let's go deal with the monster together.
See, that's the part.
But I'm not gonna fight it with you. I mean, for you.
Yeah.
You gonna fight it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold your hand though.
That's work. At least you support through the work. So talk about when you first went into entrepreneurship and how you wanted to be this motivational speaker. Mm-hmm. I asked because like
I never wanted to be a motivational speaker.
I know, but you tried, because we got some film of Aaron standing up being a motivational speaker, but we knew all along, and I say you knew all along that you were that 13-year-old boy who could say the truth. What was it that made you say, I'm gonna try this motivational speaker route?
Shout out to Kendall Ficklin. I was doing my thing on social media, and he hit me up in the DM, was like, yo, you ready to take your business to another level? I was like, who is this guy? And I was like, what is this? I have a coaching group, So I was like, all right, I don't know this dude. And he like built me up because he, shout out to Kendall Ficklin, he was a tough type of guy, right? He's kind of short, but he walks in the room and everybody shuts up. He just walks in, hey, all right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, right? And I'm like, yo, I like this dude. He's like me, or either I'm like him. So I literally, did what he needed me to do, but it was motivational speaker stuff. So I was learning his mannerisms while everybody else was learning how to speak.
You were learning his mannerism while everyone else was learning how to speak.
How to be a coach, how to have a coaching group, how to command a room, how to be the shortest person in the room, but tell everybody to sit down without telling everybody to sit down. Think about that. Everybody sits down, shuts up without you even saying nothing. You walk in the room and you're like, we're like, yeah, he comes in. I was learning that. I didn't care about this motivational speaker stuff. I wanted to become that.
Did you think at some point motivational speaking was going to be that vehicle at some point, and then you decided, nah, I'm going to stay here for this?
Never.
So how long did you serve as a motivational speaker?
I never was a motivational speaker.
Okay. Got you.
I was in motivational speaker coaching groups, but I never was a motivational speaker.
Got you.
So I always, I started out before Kendall and before David Shands, shout out to David Shands. before them, I was doing content on Instagram.
Yeah.
I had followers. I had a following before I had coaching.
What was your content back then?
It was about, one of the things I used to say is, before getting into a relationship, fix your shit, stuff like that, you know?
So you were talking about just relationships from a broader standpoint, like look at it from the real, and then you shifted to like specifically women at some point?
Yeah, and I started, because really, because somebody else that I seen on YouTube one time, and he said, allow your seeker to seek you.
Allow your seeker
to seek me.
To seek you.
So I was just doing my thing, and I just started attracting women, right? But I didn't have a business. I just had a whole bunch of followers. Like I said, I was watching what Kendall was doing and not what Kendall was saying. How did he get this whole group of people in this room? How does he have all these people, 100 people, on a coaching class every Monday or whatever it was at 8 o'clock? How did he put that together? How does he command the room? You know, and then he had a story where he talked about he used to drink, he used to do this and do that. And at one point, he was like, in order for me to have this, I have to let that go. And then it turned into, I want to help people let go. Because that thought of letting go came from Kendall Ficklin, because he had to let go of the alcohol in order to move on to his purpose. Yeah. He was working with Eric Thomas, E.T., and then he was just like, I can't allow this thing over here, this habit, this dysfunction affect me traveling and doing all this other stuff. So he literally had to just stop drinking, because E.T., really none of us, not saying I'm on E.T.'s level, but none of us, and you know what a us is. Right. We don't drink. We don't do all this stuff. So he had to put himself in another environment where people don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't do all this other stuff. And he was like, I just got to let that go. So that was my thought process of that is what I want to do. How I want to like emphasize it. I am not here to put something in you. I am here to take something out of you. Because when you look at a sculpture, right, before the sculpture, it was a big old thing of granite. And you got to chip away at the little pieces, right? And if you look at the bottom, the floor, after you chip away at these pieces, there's more granite on the floor than is up on here. So we have to stop trying to add people, add things, add more books. There's people who read book ain't learned nothing, ain't did nothing. But the busyness, just being busy of thinking, or reading, going to seminars, doing this, being in relationships. Some people just can't stop being in relationships because they're scared to be alone. They keep adding things, adding people.
What about
adding ideas?
Afraid of being in a relationship? That's the part that.
Well, that's another thing. But when it comes to the addition, they're just simply adding busyness or either coping mechanisms. And the answer is to let go and not add. So it's about subtraction. And I also say, I'm not here to help you find no man. I'm not here to help you find a woman. I'm here to help you find yourself. Forget all the other stuff. You know, so to the people who don't want to be in a relationship, they, to a certain degree, are afraid of intimacy. So people are doing virtually everything that they're doing, dysfunctional people, traumatized people, out of fear. But why are you fearful? Why? What are you scared of? You got to go through the who, what, when, where, and why of your fear. You know, there's something that I share with my coaching group called an emotional wheel. And one of my principles pertaining to emotional wheel is you're never angry, you're something else. So when you say people don't want to be in relationships, people avoid relationships, you're not afraid, there's something else. We got to go a little farther than I'm just afraid. Yeah. I don't want to get hurt. Why don't you want to get hurt? And those are the things. If I keep asking you, hey, I'm doing this. Why are you doing that? I don't know. Like, for example, you're on social media doing this. Why? Because I want to make money. Why? Because I want to feed my family. Why? Because I don't want my kids to grow up where I grew up. Why? Because I grew up, now you see how, now I'm on me. Because I grew up in poverty and I don't want my kids. Why? Because I know how it feels. Why? And now you're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the why by every question you ask. And that's the reason why I trigger so many people inadvertently, because I don't let off of them. Every video is gonna, I'm digging into you. It's gonna be a different why, who, when, where, how, and they just like, yo, it's women who literally blocked me, and then they'll run into my content, and I said something. They just like, oh my God, why do I keep running? And they'll join my coaching group.
Yeah.
They'll go from blocking me to joining my coaching group.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's such when you are faced with the truth, your truth, whatever it is, and your truth could be your emotions. The brave ones run to that uncomfortable feeling.
Yes.
While others don't. And so I love the way that you frame things up. And everybody may or may not agree, but the people who, like you said, block you and then come to you, they obviously seen the light in some form of fashion.
They don't agree now. When they keep getting hit in the head by whatever, or life is, hitting them with or whatever, and they can't move forward, they'll end up waking up. Because here's the bottom line. It's not about the person or thing that is in front of you that is a problem. It is a person, place, or thing that is behind you that is a problem.
Yeah.
And, you can keep running from the thing behind you, trying to put somebody in front of you to blame. Because a lot of women, they don't even want to get married. They don't want to be in a relationship. They just need somebody to blame for their sadness. I
don't know where we're going with this one.
They just need a man in front of them so she can call him a narcissist.
That's a whole different, what? I've never shared this ever. Okay. I've never shared this part of my story. When I left my job, I was already ready to quit my job. But instead, I was applying for other jobs in the company. Ended up landing one that was like $10K more than what I was already going to get. But I didn't want it. I knew I wanted to quit. I was in a relationship with a man who was like, no, take it, and then do all these things. Fast forward, the relationship ended in just shambles. But in the process, I quit my job and we were in a relationship. One thing that informed me about that relationship after I decided I was done was about like narcissistic behavior. And as I learned about it, I did learn a lot about my relationship. And I said, well, doggone, if he could be diagnosed, he probably is. However, for a long time, I used that as a reason why, just a huge reason why that relationship didn't work, right? I was in a relationship with a narcissist, period. Yeah. And then I found so many groups of like women who are like, narcissist, recovering from a narcissist, all the YouTube, how that algorithm. And
all they want to do is whine.
You type in narcissist, and there's a community of women that talk about. And
who whine about narcissists.
It was bad. And I had a friend of mine who said, you're giving that man too much power.
Yep.
And I realized when I played back the tape in that relationship, there was so much I learned about myself.
There we go.
About entrepreneurship, about my power.
You being a narcissist?
Even my own emotional abuse.
Because think about this.
You attract the people.
You go to this group full of women complaining about narcissists. All the women in the group are narcissists. That's why they're in the group. So they can spread their narcissism. And it's something called a narcissistic supply. You victimize yourself and now you feel good. Narcissists need that attention. You know what I'm saying?
So I think that makes sense of why you could attract someone like a narcissist.
Yep.
Because whatever's going on in you obviously isn't healed.
It's in there.
And you attract them. But the biggest thing that I learned about my experience is accountability, how to own my own ish, and how to own my own healing.
Yep.
Because once I realized you only allow, people only do what you allow them to do in a relationship. It doesn't matter how narcissistic a person is. If you've already set up your boundaries, if you've already understood what your attachment, as you know,
your attachment
styles are, if you've gotten to know yourself, like you said, if you've learned who you are, and I realized a light bulb shifted, and I said, dang, if he was a narcissist, because once you learn about it, you guys read books in your group, you realize they're attracted to the best parts of you. And then you got to understand.
No, they're attracted to the worst parts of you.
Both ways.
Yeah.
Because their supply is off of, it could be a narcissistic man who wants a woman who's going to take care of him.
Right.
And so
But that's the worst part of you.
The person
wanting to take care of a loser, wanting to take care of a dude is a bad trait.
But if you get
you just think it's good.
If you get a good man,
he ain't gonna want you to take care of him.
Maybe not take care of him like mama.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like
a narcissist wants a codependent person.
I was gonna say,
but the codependent person is a bad person, just like the narcissist is. But just because their actions are warm and fuzzy doesn't mean that they're not bad. And that's the thing that why women always look at men as narcissists and they don't look at themselves as narcissists, because they're the actual warm and fuzzy narcissist. They're well, just do this, oh, let me do. And as long as she is in control, and get with this loser, this dude on no job, or have all these issues, she's in control. But since she's speaking softly, she thinks she's not a narcissist. But no, she's as much as a narcissist as the guy. Because sometimes the guy is the codependent and the woman is a narcissist. Hence the loser that woman is with.
That definitely happens. There are a lot of men who are in relationships with women narcissists, but they don't get as much support because just the way society. It's a double-edged sword how society treats men and women and how.
No, women choose to be victimized over and over again by certain people, and they embrace it. So it's not that it's accepted. Women are choosing it, and they love talking about it. But they go to the hair salons talking about, oh, my man cheated on me. He's this, these men, da. So it's not accepted. It's just talked about.
Yes, that's what I mean by society. But there are men who are hurting in a relationship right now, and they're in a relationship with a narcissistic woman, and they don't feel supported. They don't have someone to reach out. Some of them don't, though.
Something's wrong with them.
Well, this is why there is a Mr. Let Go for some people, right? There are people who help people let go of whatever it is that's making you hold on to this person, even though they're not healthy for you. And I think that's the part that we should focus on, the accountability. Yeah. Literally. So in your journey, you already had, when you met Kendall Ficklin, now listen to me, I can't tell. You already had your social media presence. You already had a platform. You were already speaking to the broader, get your ish together if you want to be in a relationship topic. But you had to grow as an individual. I kind of want to get into what did you have to let go in order to go with your own flow?
Okay, yeah. I had to let go of my dad. My dad, at some point, just stopped talking to me altogether, all right? And for years, I was mad at my dad, and I thought he abandoned me and all this other stuff, right? But what I did was I did not forget about my dad. I just changed the perception of my dad. So this is what happened. The last time I seen my dad, we were walking because my dad did not have a car. I'm 15 years old. I had a car. No, 16. I think I was 16 years old. I had a car at home because he lived in Philly. So we're walking through Philly, right, with no car. I was living with my uncle. Not living, but when I went to Philly to see my dad, I had to live with my uncle and not with my dad. Why? Because my dad didn't have anywhere to stay. He was literally a loser living with a girl, just like I talk about these dudes or be living with chicks. He was living with his girlfriend. So I had to live with my uncle who had a house and everything, right? So I'm over there and my dad to come get me. So he don't have a car, he ain't got no crib, right? So one day we were walking, because I was up there for a week or something, I don't know. I was there for a week, I think. And we were walking through a trap. A trap is a drug-related place where they sell drugs, and there's only one way in and one way out. So the police, so it's kind of like a horseshoe sometimes. So we were walking through the trap, and somebody was like, yo, right? And he was like, somebody was like, who's that? My dad was like, don't worry about it. I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? He said, what? You're going to get a shot. This is a trap. My dad looked at me like, what is a trap? You don't know what a trap is? No, what are you talking about? I said, a trap is where they sell drugs. And he said, how you know this? I said, because I sell drugs. You know, what are you going to do for me? I don't know this dude like that, you know. He flew me out to spend time with me. Like, what you going to do? Slap me? You know, so I'm like, yeah, I sell drugs. And he said, you sell drugs? I said, yeah. He said, why? What are you talking about? Buy my car and do this and do that. He's like, wait, you got a car? Yeah. Got it painted? You know, back in the day, we'll get an old car, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I had a Lexus or a Mercedes or something. I had a old Cutlass that I got for $600 from the
cash car place?
No, from the auction.
Auction, okay.
Auction, right?
Even better.
So it's not like I had money. So I'm 16, so I got a car, it's on rims, and I paid about $600 to get it painted. So had tinted windows, all that stuff. Speakers in the trunk, all that stuff, right? So I even had one of those little extra, I went and bought an extra steering wheel, a wood grain steering wheel. Back in the day, that was something. You got a wood grain steering wheel and some rims? So I had all that at the age of 16, and this man did not have a car, did not have a job actually, and didn't have anywhere to stay and was living with a chick. So that means if she don't like you, you out on the street, right? Probably gotta live with your brother. So I said, yeah, I got a car. And I said, and me and my girlfriend we're probably gonna get an apartment together or something like that. So I'm a child. And I'm about to get my own apartment, got my own car, and I also had a job when I was selling drugs.
Really?
Yeah. So I had a job and I was selling drugs.
So dad is looking at you like, this boy got it all together. And you're looking at dad like...
My dad is a whole loser. So at some point we went to the airport. He dropped me off. He gave me $20. I'm like, the hell is this? And the look on my face, probably because I don't know, will have like this little ungrateful little, you know? And I was like, all right. And I left. And after that, y'all like, what am I doing this? And he's looking at his 16-year-old son like, I just gave him $20, and he's looking at me like I'm a piece of crap. Because I was arrogant. Sorry, but not sorry. And he never called me again. And for years, I was like, my dad don't love me, my dad this and that. And this was a few years ago. I actually went to Philly with friends because he had a speaking engagement, and we would travel with other people because I wanted to learn about the business of it too. So I would travel with somebody, and I ain't even got nothing to do. I'm just there. We travel to Philly. And since I'm from Philly, I got an Airbnb that was away from everybody else because I wanted to be in the hood. Not in the hood, but I wanted to feel Philly. Okay. I didn't want to be downtown. Okay. So I was walking. It started raining a little bit. I was walking to where we was about to go to the event at. While I was walking, I automatically started getting angry. And I'm like, why am I getting so angry? I'm like, whoa, wait. I'm triggered. I'm still angry about my dad. So I took my butt to therapy. And when I went to therapy, I learned a lot about myself. And I suggest other people go to therapy too. And I realized, and the therapist actually helped me change my perspective of my dad, which is the reason why your dad may have left is because you were so much of a little asshole and you had all this stuff and you were a child and he had none of this stuff and he was in his 40s. Therapist like, I wouldn't have called you either.
Why?
She was joking, but.
Okay. No. What I'm saying is the reason that.
I made him feel like less of a man.
I get what you're saying.
A child is making you feel like you're not a man. Like your life is trash. And this little boy is living a better life than you probably have been living for the last 5-6 years. Yeah. Because you don't wake up living with a chick. You don't wake up one day, no job, wake up one day with no car. No, this is just who you are. You're a loser. So I possibly, because we'll never know, I possibly made him feel like a loser. So standing next to me, because another thing that Kendall Ficklin always said, you can't tell, I'm trying to think. He said, a crooked stick doesn't know it's crooked until you until you sit it next to a straight stick. So a crooked stick is sitting right here. It doesn't know it's crooked until it sees this. So I was a straight stick and he was a crooked stick. So my existence made him feel like less of a person. Yeah. So maybe he didn't want me to exist, and look, because I'm in Philly. I'm in Atlanta. He's in Philly. So he could easily just send me on my little $20 and never call me again.
Yeah. So how did you feel when your therapist helped you realize how your dad felt? How did that help you? How did you internalize that experience?
It made me feel like it wasn't my fault. At the same time, it was my fault because I was doing so much better than him. So it was my fault. You know what I'm saying? So
that's something that the ego needs to tell itself so we can move forward.
Yeah, you're trash. So, and I'm not. So that's why. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna let your inside little boy have that one.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the loser dads out there. Take care of your kids and get your life together. But yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Seriously. So what you're saying is that you had to let go of your own dad in the same way.
Become my own dad.
I
had to let him go and become my own dad. Because if I'm 16 and I'm doing better job than him, I need to fire him and I'm just going to manage myself. I'm my dad.
Yeah, but you understand the fallacy of that though, right?
Meaning what?
Like when it comes to a child, a person growing in this world, sometimes we do need that guidance. Did you ever feel like you needed a bit of guidance?
Kendall Ficklin.
You found it in Kendall Ficklin.
Yeah. David Shands.
You found it in
Yeah, and when I was young, there was mentors. Remember, I had a job at the age of 15, 16. It was a program called the PIC program.
Yeah.
I was working since I was 13. My first job, that isn't really a job, was helping young old ladies to the car, because back in the days there was posts in front of Winn-Dixie's in the grocery stores, because the crackheads used to take the buggies and use the buggy to put stuff in the buggy. Yeah. So they put these things out. So the old ladies would have to carry all of these groceries to their cars. So my first job at 11 years old, we would ride our bikes up to the Winn-Dixie and stand out there and ask the ladies if we can help them. And they'll give us $1, a little stuff like that. But my first official job was at the age of 13. So just to go even farther of manhood, I've been working since I was 11 to a certain degree. So can't nobody tell me nothing. My mom don't work. My dad don't work. None of y'all ain't gonna tell me nothing. Everybody gonna sit down.
And you know what's interesting? Like, we have these conversations, these real conversations. I never leave the conversation not learning something new about you or just our relationship.
Same thing with you, yeah.
It's literally always like this on and off social media. But the thing that I'm listening to right now is you can't tell me nothing, which also helps with you being able to maintain who you are on social media and on your platforms. You remember, like, we were having a conversation maybe like last year, and you were helping me to like dig deep and be my authentic self on social media. When did you feel like, and I think you told me the story before, but I would love for you to tell the story again. When you got the confidence to rip the Band-Aid off and tell your truth instead of being like pacified on social media, the day or that moment where you got the green light, so to speak, to say it like it is.
Shout out to Kendall Ficklin. I was in his group, and one of the guys in the group called me. I was the angry happy coach, or the happy anger coach, one of the two. So he would try to, because like I didn't really want to do this motivational speaking stuff, but he'd have us, all right, go, and I gotta tell a story, right? And I'm telling a story. You need to do this, and it always turned into some childhood stuff. And it turns into me. I'm like, yeah, and I'm telling my story instead of being motivational. And I just got to the point where it was like, bro, like, Like, what is all this anger, happiness, this happy anger? And I started saying, like, well, sadness makes you sit down. Anger makes you get up. So I'm going to get up. I'm going to teach people how to not be angry, but to embrace the nasty stuff. It's not just anger, because now, not back then, my principle is you're never angry, you're something else. So I didn't know that, but that's what I was actually saying and articulating back then. Sadness make you sit down, anger make you get up. So which one you gonna pick? So y'all call me angry or whatever, but I'm the one standing up telling y'all what y'all need to do. What is a sad person doing? Somewhere in the corner. You know what I'm saying? So instead of you feeling sorry for yourself, instead of you just being sad, get your ass up and do something about it.
That's crazy. I mean, why am I motivated right now? I'm like, yeah. But you know what? This goes back to women, and it's this thing that I've always like admired about women. And you gonna say how you feel about it, so have at it. But it's the notation that the notion that women learn how to take their pain and turn it into power. And what you're saying is, you step up, like you got that anger, step up, say something, as opposed to letting your pain, inhabilitate you or make you complacent or whatever that word is. That's what I'm hearing. And I think for some women who can't identify with what you're saying, based on what you just said, you can identify with that. You know what I mean? Like, you've been through your own pain and you've decided to shift that into something that's positive, something that has a positive effect on some people. And we've been able to see some of the benefits in real life. Like, social media might look like that, like it is your day job. It is what you do, but it's not the only thing. Like someone told me a couple weeks ago, social media isn't real. But who you are off of social media is extremely real. And the results that you're getting is extremely real. So I think the women who can identify with that, if I'm angry, stand up and do something about it. Yeah. As opposed to retreating and not doing anything. That makes the most sense.
And some of the main things in life that will kill you are actually the things that we use to keep us alive. Fire, guns, knives. So if you just electricity, all these things will kill you. But if we didn't have those things, one, we'll be speaking another language because somebody else will have guns. We wouldn't be able to heat our homes, cook our food. We'll be sitting around eating raw food, getting sick. So all of the things that actually, the sharpest, most scariest, violent things, fire, electricity, they're the things that actually keep us safe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm most proud of your growth on like seeing you grow and literally lose your page, get your page back, go on YouTube, kill it in the game, seeing so many people attend your shows live. Honestly, it's something that I aspire to do and continue to grow in my own truth, right? So I want to say, like, first of all, thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Don't stop.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, don't stop. And second, I'm thinking about just your personal development as a person who was once at a 9-to-5. Like, we did a conversation before, guys, and I wish I could take you through the first part of the conversation where we talked about how you left your 9-to-5. But Aaron was once in a 9-to-5. Not someone who, I don't know if you knew or you saw yourself being this person who's got this bright light on social media. But how do you help other people get to no presence on social media, to speaking their truth and having the attention that you have today?
Well, one is important for just as far as content goes, and then just reaching in their own persona and find out who they are. It's about overcoming their fears. People don't want to, it's part of our trauma. People don't want to be judged. People don't want to be talked about. I get talked about, I don't care. And another one of my principles, because I coach women and then I coach people on how they can grow their content. But to a certain degree, the principles are the same. My number one principle for the women's coaching group is it doesn't matter. Another principle is don't attach yourself to other people's problems. So that's a women's coaching group. But when it comes to social media, it's the same thing. Like, I can't attach myself to somebody else's problem as a coach of a person. Because now I'm over here crying. I can't be crying and you crying. So I have to have a healthy sense of detachment when I'm helping somebody. Because now we both going to be sitting there crying and that ain't going to help nobody do nothing, right? So you don't attach yourself to other people's problems. And then it doesn't matter. What people think of you, what people say about you, doesn't freaking matter. You know, because at the end of the day, another thing that is important for people to know, that is hard for people to just really swallow, is I, in particular, look to piss people off. And there's a reason why. If you don't have a polarizing effect to your words and everybody likes you, you ain't doing nothing. You're pandering. Because it's just like a parent. You don't like your parent through your whole young life. There's certain times you can't stand your parent. Why? Because they're going to tell you, sit down. They're going to tell you, do your homework. They're going to tell you, don't do this. Don't do that. Don't climb up here. Don't do all this stuff, right? Come home at a certain time. They're giving you structure. So if you don't have anybody that you piss off, that means you're not providing structure for other people. Because people are just like the people I'm coaching. They don't know or have structure. And when you start instilling structure into yourself, and then you simply just teach your structure, because that's really all I do. I teach my structural family system that other people may enjoy or learn or understand if they understood it.
So do you help people figure out what their structure is? Or how do you help somebody go from not necessarily showing up or being polarizing at all to having something to say?
Well, I'm not here to help nobody find a man. I'm not helping nobody find a woman. I'm not helping nobody find something to say.
Okay.
You just have to be able to say whatever it is that you want to say in your most genuine way. So whatever it is you want to say, I'm just going to give you the support and the balls to say it.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. The balls. Can we say amen for that? I appreciate it.
Wait, we can't say balls and amen itself.
Listen, Jesus had balls.
Jesus did have balls. Okay, you're right.
We just being objective about it. I'm learning more about your process from an objective standpoint. There was basically like in how you have done your own healing and how you've like seen other women get their healing. The way you talk about like how to heal from yourself is very objective. It's like, this is what you got to do. Same as what I'm hearing is what you do in your social media group. It's like, you have what you have to say. I'm just going to give you the tools that you need so that you can get out here and be successful on these platforms. Right.
The support, the ideas, the understanding, the articulation of it.
Yeah. So when it comes to so you talked a little bit about your women's coaching group. So how do you help people specifically get on social media? One thing that I think is dope is when I met you, you lost your social media page. You lost your whole Instagram page. And I think your YouTube was about maybe 8,000 or so followers or subscribers. You lost it. You lost your Instagram, and you built everything to what it is right now. And now you help other people do it. So what is it that you teach if it's not, hey, figure out your framework? What is it? Is it the tools? Is it how to show up on social media? Is it what platforms to do?
Well, it's all of that, and then I actually have a strategy called the 3-7-3 method. And if anybody wants to learn that, they would have to join my coaching group.
Okay.
But
can you give us one of the 3 or one of the 7?
It's about how you start a romantic relationship with social media.
Really?
Because everything is about perception and perspective. We look at social media and TikTok and YouTube. How do I supposed to do all this stuff? Facebook, because I make money on Facebook. I make money on YouTube. And in some of the platforms you don't make money off of, but you got to be on there. So you like, okay, how do I deal with all this other stuff? Well, if you look at it as having a relationship with somebody, it'd be a lot easier. So I'm either watching YouTube videos, I'm editing for YouTube, posting on YouTube, doing a show on YouTube, or replying to the comments on YouTube. That's a relationship. So when you learn how to build an actual relationship, you now are able to, it's like, because when you first get a girlfriend and boyfriend, you got to know how to put them in your busy life, and you make room for them. So if you look at social media as your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you make room for them. Because we all, when we want that woman or that man, no matter how busy we are, we're going to make room for them. Well, do the same thing with your social media.
That's a really dope analogy.
Yeah.
I've heard it in the opposite way. Like if you know how people don't post for like 4 months and all of a sudden they go online and they try to sell something. And it's like, you ain't been here for 4 months. What have you done for me lately? Like your followers are like your girlfriend or boyfriend. And if you don't show up,
they gonna ghost you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing right now is the discipline and commitment that it takes for you to nurture your relationship with your social media. That a lot of people might just go on, touch it real quick, and go on about their business. But what you're saying is it has to be a consistent relationship that you have with your pages.
Yeah, this might sound crazy, but shout out to Shorty Low, a rapper, Shorty Low.
What did he say?
He said, "I ain't got no wife because a white be my girlfriend."
That is what he said.
And some of y'all might not know what that means. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. And the people who know what that means, I can keep going on the story. I ain't got no wife because the wife be my girlfriend is my energy is into whatever it is I'm doing. I don't have time for a wife. I'll get a wife when I get out the hood. Because I can't provide for a wife because I'm in the hood trying to get out. So at this particular point, the white is my girlfriend and I don't need no wife because I got to work on this. So you start working on things as a level, from a level standpoint.
Can I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
Because I just realized, like,
What?
When it comes to one of the things that I know your followers ask you, why you don't have a girlfriend? What is this? Does your girlfriend take it as much? And you don't have to share all your details, but because you're so successful at social media and you do show up consistently, does it make it difficult for you to maintain a successful romantic relationship?
I would say no, because it's all about where your attention is and your level of communication. So at first I was against it, like dating somebody that does what I do. But dating somebody that somewhat does what I do helps them understand me. So we're not in two different worlds. So it's not that I wouldn't date somebody that doesn't do what I do, but somebody that has a good understanding. Dating a girl who don't even have an Instagram page isn't going to understand what I'm doing in the DMs. Because I deal with, since I got 2 coaching groups, it's like two group chats. Then I have at least about 15 people who send me videos randomly. Yo, do a video on this, do a video on that. So my DMs be full literally every day. Somebody who ain't really on social media is going to think it's some girl or somebody send me some,
or that you're wasting time.
I'm wasting time, stuff like that. Yeah. And I don't want to deal with that. But if it's a woman that understands who I am, don't watch me, respects me, admires me, and doesn't want me to quit doing this that would provide for both of us, she would support me. I would 1,000% give her time. And I have done it, So no, it's not even a problem at all. It's just all about healthy communication. Because sometimes when the communication is off, now it could turn into a problem. But the social media wasn't a problem. Yeah. The communication was a problem.
Yeah. That's what we were talking about before we had this podcast. It was the ability for us to have communication in our real relationships and how that actually will affect our persona on social media. I remember when we have these like relationship conversations all the time. And I don't share my own perspective a lot because it's not typically my platform, but because you're here, I can say that in my own relationship, I've had to look at myself. I've had to not run away from fights. I've had to listen when a person tells me I'm doing things wrong or talking to my inner child. Or even, admit that I need help from a man who's older than me who says, hey, just let's be logical right now. Let's not be emotional. Let's not tear down the whole house because you're upset. Let's focus on the main goal. And I've had those conversations with you, and I've been able to be real about it. You know what I mean? Like, and so I've appreciated that part of our relationship. But I'm glad we get a chance to have this talk now, right? I was just thinking about your ability to be in a relationship with someone who is in the same industry. And there's not a lot of people who are who have gotten into the influencer space. So like, it's going to be a new journey just to find someone who in social media, in like YouTube world, in influencer world, who also has the courage to look at themselves and have these conversations and communicate, who also understands the value of making money on social media. It's just a whole different layer of relationship advice that you'll be talking about very soon, I'm sure.
But when it comes to dating, it's not really about somebody being on social media. It's about somebody understanding social media.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying a woman has to be an influencer, but she has to be somebody that understands what an influencer is, what these terms are, like who's saying what and why they saying this and why they saying that, because if not, they're not going to understand me. And I don't want to be with somebody that doesn't understand me and start looking at me. What is this? Why you do this? What? Yeah. Because I remember when I first started selling cars at one point, and I was dating a girl. She was like, "Why are you selling cars? Ain't nobody buying no cars." What? You don't even know. How do you know who's doing what? So you end up getting this negative, fearful person. Yeah, that's the type of person I can't deal with.
Yeah.
So they don't have to be an influencer, but they just have to understand life past just going to a job every day and coming home.
Yeah. Speaking of which, before we get out of here, I want to talk a little bit to the person who doesn't have that sense of social media savvy yet, but they want to. And that's specifically how you help in one of your communities. And shout out to you because you came into my community and shared a little bit of nuggets on how someone can actually show up on social media. So before we get out of here, there's someone who right now is still in their 9-to-5. And when I was in my 9-to-5, I was that person that's like, social media is a toy, not a tool.
Yeah.
What are some of the tips that you would give right now so that someone can kind of bypass some of the journey that you went to and get to a place where they are showing up boldly and efficiently as you are?
Well, don't bypass the journey. Embrace the journey. Embrace the failures. I love failing. Like this year, just altogether, I lost my Instagram page. Well, that was December. So I would say within a year, I lost my Instagram page. I lost $80,000. No, $50,000. And I lost a relationship. So you have to embrace your losses and you look at these losses and say, okay, I can make these losses into a story. I can make these losses into content. Because I, too, have been where the people that are looking to me, I've been there. Because it's about relatability. I can relate with people who dealt with childhood trauma because I dealt with it with my mom. I can't say I'm a woman. I help women, so I'm not a woman. But I do understand what women go through because of how I sat back for 7 years, between 7 and 14, watching my mom go through these ups and downs with these men. And on a normal basis, I would hear and see my mom get with a loser, dude who ain't got no job, no nothing. He's around. It gets abusive. She kicks him out. And then a week later, he's back on the couch when I come home from school. So once you look at your life and other people's lives, like your childhood, and say, what can I learn from my own childhood? And I would say, go get therapy. Because a therapist and how they help you, you could turn around and help people the way your therapist helped you.
Yeah.
But you have to find the story in you before you just get on social media, because there's a bunch of people just on social media. But I help people find their uniqueness, because everybody has a story. We all been through something.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. LetGo.
I appreciate you.
Listen, we're going to have so many more conversations. I know you guys get to see him in a rare form, but I'm glad we get to just ask you questions and hear what you're thinking, because a lot of times, you know, being in your space, sometimes it can just be always a debate. And sometimes, even though it's a chat, people are talking over each other and nobody has a chance to hear. Yep. So now we get a chance to hear you and where you came from and how Aaron became Mr. LetGo. Yep. So for those of you guys who are interested.
And shout out to David Shands, because I hit him up and I was like, yo, what do you think about Mr. LetGo? He's like, I like it. And I've been Mr. LetGo ever since.
When he says run the play, run it. Yeah. So those of y'all who are in this conversation, you made it this far. I know you want to get in contact with Mr. LetGo. If you've seen his journey, it doesn't necessarily matter how you feel about whatever he says. You got to know that it works. So if you're interested in learning how to develop your brand, or if you want to look inside yourself and figure out how do you deal with your trauma, you're the person to go to. So how can they get in contact with you? What are some ways that they can work with you?
Well, to work with me, you go to mrletgo.com/join if you're a woman and you want to join my coaching group. mrletgo.com/join. Or if you want to learn how to grow on social media, any platform, you go to mrletgo.com/content. So that's where you find me if you want to work with me. Mm-hmm. But where you find me to watch my show or anything like that on Instagram is @Iam_Mr. LetGo, MRLETGO, and YouTube, which is simply Mr. LetGo, MRLETGO. Those are my two main platforms.
Perfect. And if someone is interested, I'm just asking because I gotta ask. If they want to work with you, is there like a way at checkout they can put in work and play for anything to get into the community? Or
sure. We'll do that. I'll take $100 off.
Okay, now listen. I feel like he might be our best guest after a while, but I think that is 100%
for the content one. For the content.
For the content one. Okay, so if you guys are interested in getting the content, which I think is actually dope in 2022. I don't want to date the podcast, but hey, social media is the bane of many people's existence, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you want to get your brand out there.
You can make a lot of money on social media: YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Clubhouse. You can make money on all platforms if you want to, and leave your job.
Listen, don't get people excited. You know why they came. You gave them exactly what they came for.
I just sit on my butt all day, make videos, and make money. I don't half the time I don't even go out of the house.
And he's not lying. I can attest. So if y'all don't do anything else, do what you need to do to bet on yourself. Tap in with Mr. LetGo and get whatever healing it is, whatever growth that it is that you need. All right. But until next time, I'll see y'all on the next episode. Peace.